It started buzzing in 1973. No announcement, no explanation, no name. A shortwave transmitter somewhere in western Russia began broadcasting on 4,625 kilohertz, and it has not stopped. Not for a day, not for an hour, not for any significant period of time, for more than a few minutes in over 50 years. We named it UVB-76. Radio hobbyists, scanning the shortwave bands in the late 1970s, began noting it in their logs. By the 1980s, it had a nickname, the buzzer. By the 1990s, it had a community. Thousands of listeners around the world, monitoring it in shifts, recording every deviation, cataloging every anomaly. None of them know what it is. None of them, including apparently most of the governments asked, have been given an official answer. Here is what is known about the buzzer from 50 years of documented observation. It transmits a buzzing tone, approximately 25 pulses per second, on a frequency that experiences almost zero interference at night, making it audible across most of the northern hemisphere during evening hours. The signal strength suggests a transmitter in the 10 to 20 kilowatt range. Significant, purpose-built, maintained. The facility has been located approximately to a site near Pskov in northwestern Russia. Satellite imagery confirms a large antenna complex. Russian authorities have not officially acknowledged the installation. At irregular intervals, sometimes months apart, sometimes within days of each other, the buzzing stops. A voice comes on. It reads a combination of numbers, call signs, and names in Russian, using standard phonetic military notation. Then it stops. The buzzing resumes. The voice changes. Different voices have been recorded over the decades. Male, female, sometimes flat and mechanical, sometimes with the particular cadence of a person reading carefully from a prepared script. The voices are never introduced. They never explain. They simply read, then vanish back into the buzz. The most recent confirmed voice transmission as of this recording occurred in 2023. The buzzer has not gone silent. Intelligence analysts who study signals have several theories about what the buzzer is for, and they are not mutually exclusive. The first theory is the most straightforward. It is a communications channel for Russian military and intelligence services, used to relay encrypted orders to field assets. The buzzing tone serves as a carrier frequency, a constant presence that can be monitored cheaply with basic shortwave receivers anywhere in the world. When an order needs to be transmitted, the buzzing stops, the message is delivered in code, and the carrier resumes. The simplicity is the point. The system requires no internet connection. It cannot be disrupted by cyber attack. It cannot be traced to a recipient. It works during a communications blackout, during war, during any scenario in which modern infrastructure has been compromised. The second theory, proposed independently by multiple researchers in the signals intelligence community, involves what is known as a dead hand protocol. Dead hand, or perimeter, as the Russian system is formally designated, is a semi-automatic nuclear launch system designed to guarantee retaliation even if the Soviet command structure is destroyed in a first strike. It has been operational since 1984. It remains operational today. The specifics of how perimeter works have been partially declassified and partially inferred from Soviet-era technical documentation. One component of the system is a network of monitoring stations that measure seismic activity, radiation levels, and electromagnetic interference. If those stations detect the signatures of a nuclear strike, and if certain command codes have not been received within a defined window, the system can initiate launch sequences autonomously. Part of that system requires a continuous carrier signal, a frequency that is always present, always active, easily monitored, something that, if it went silent, would itself constitute a signal. No one has officially confirmed that UVB-76 is connected to perimeter. The timing matches. The technical specifications align. And there is a certain cold logic to it. A transmitter that has broadcast for over 50 years without meaningful interruption, watched by thousands of civilian monitors who would immediately notice if it stopped, is perhaps the most reliable alarm system ever built. The people who would most need to know if it fell silent are, in a sense, already listening. The buzzer is not alone on the shortwave bands. There is a station designated S28, tracked primarily over Eastern Europe. It transmits a sequence of 5-digit number groups on a rotating schedule, changing frequency mid-broadcast in a pattern that has been partially decoded by civilian analysts. Some groups in the sequence match structures used in historically documented Soviet-era cipher systems that were supposed to have been retired. There is PIP, a single-note tone transmission that began in 1992 and continues sporadically, origin unknown. Its frequency shifts correlate with no known pattern. There is what hobbyists call the backwards music station, a set of transmissions in which what sounds like music plays in reverse, occasionally interrupted by voice segments that have not been deciphered despite years of processing and analysis by volunteers with professional signals intelligence backgrounds. These stations are not relics, they are active. Some have increased their transmission schedules in the past few years. This is not the Cold War. The Cold War ended. The stations did not. There is a question underneath all of this that I find myself returning to. The systems that built these transmitters, the minds that designed the buzzer, the engineers who calibrated it, the officials who authorized it. They made a choice to create something that would outlast the context that created it, something that would keep broadcasting regardless of whether anyone in authority was still telling it to. They built a voice that could not be stopped by the death of the people who made it speak. And 50 years later, the voice is still there, broadcasting to an audience it never had to acknowledge, carrying messages that no one outside the system has been permitted to decode. It is patient in a way that human institutions rarely manage to be. It doesn't need the situation to remain stable. It was designed for the situation to become unstable, for the normal world to end, and for the buzzing to continue regardless. Most of the things we build are meant to function in ordinary times. The buzzer was built for the end of ordinary times. It is broadcasting right now, 4,625 kilohertz. If you have a shortwave radio, even a basic one, even a cheap one, you can tune it in. You will hear a tone, mechanical, patient, unwavering. You will not know what it means. But you will know that something is still there, still maintaining the signal, still preparing for something that has not happened yet, or something that is always, in this particular architecture of readiness, already happening. The buzzing never stopped. We just spent 50 years not knowing what we were listening to. Maybe that was the point. If you have ever tuned into a shortwave frequency and heard something you couldn't explain, a voice, a code, a tone, leave it in the comments. This is the kind of research that gets better the more people are listening. What do you think the buzzer is for?